This is a Hawgs Sports Network podcast. You're listening to the Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club podcast. Here's your host, Chip Souza of the Hawgs Sports Network.
This is Chip Souza with the Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club. We had a great meeting today. Former Arkansas Razorback coach Houston Nutt was our guest speaker. We also honored a couple of prep program and player of the week. I talked with Greenwood coach Chris Young. That is our prep rally program of the week. Talking with Chris Young, head football coach at Greenwood. Coach, you guys are off to a great start. Kind of tell me where you are and talk about the 6A West, just how brutal that conference is.
Yeah, we feel like we've gotten off to a great start this year, obviously being 6-0, playing a good non-conference team out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and then Fort Smith Northside, and then getting a good start in our early conference season. So we're really happy with where we are so far. 6A's loaded this year, and both sides of it look to be really competitive. Obviously on our side, Little Rock Christian, Pulaski Academy, those guys are doing both really well this year. And then you look on the other side, and you've got Marion, you've got Benton, you've got Little Rock Catholic, and now you've got West Memphis. So a lot of talent from top to bottom. We feel like 6A is competitive as any league in the state this year, and a number of really good football programs.
Tell me about this good run game that you guys got going on.
Yeah, excited about a running back this year, Braden Davis. He's a guy that was banged up last year and worked really hard in the offseason. He's a combination of speed and some strength. And then we've got a lot of guys back on the offensive line with the experience, so we knew that was going to give us a chance to be able to run the football this year. But the good thing about Braden is he can catch you out of the backfield too. So, we like to do a lot of empty, and we don't have to change personnel. So it's been a huge addition to our football program.
Looking ahead, I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but you got Little Rock Christian, you got PA coming. How do you feel like you guys are progressing each week?
I think that's the key, is that we obviously understand these next 4 games are probably going to be our toughest 4 games, starting with Lake Hamilton, Russellville, and then going to PA and Little Rock Christian. And I think it's just about getting better each week. We can't take a week off, because if we don't get better, we're going to have a hard time competing with those guys.
Good deal. Good luck to you guys the rest of the way. Go get them.
Appreciate you.
You bet. And here is Charlie Wharton. She is a girls golfer for Springdale Harbor, won a state championship last week. She is our prep rally athlete of the week. Here is Charlie Wharton. All right, I'm talking with Charlie Wharton, the prep rally player of the week, athlete of the week. Let's say golfer of the week. And let's go state champion golfer. How about that? How's that feel?
It's amazing. It's been a really great season. All of my girls on my team have been amazing, and my coach, and the tournament was just awesome to play in. And the last 4 holes waiting for that girl to finish was really stressful, but it was a great week.
You got to kind of walk me through that, because you're going back and forth, to even, back and forth a little bit, and then you get to finish on 18, right?
Yes.
And you're standing over a birdie putt. So
Yes.
kind of walk me through that.
Well, first of all, getting to that birdie putt was crazy, because I hit my drive a little to the right, and I'm in the rough, which the rough was really tall that week, and I have a tree in my way, and I can't even see the pin. So I'm gonna have to go to the left of it, but I end up almost kind of punching it out, and it hits a hill just right, and it rolls 10 feet to the hole. Oh. I got a downhill putt, and I don't check the live leaderboard, right. So I'm just wanting that birdie to have that birdie, and luckily I hit it just soft enough, and it goes in, and then I finished, and my coach was like, "You're tied now," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
how many groups was she back behind you?
Well, she started on 10, and I think she had about 4 or 3 holes left when I finished.
Did you walk over to 9 and see how it finished?
I was already at the clubhouse, and I was actually warming up already for a playoff.
For a playoff.
And so I was over there watching, and I was standing next to a friend of mine. I'm like, "Tell me what happens. Tell me what happens."
I can't look. Look. Well, so you've been on state champion teams.
Yes.
Now individual state championship. You've got to be just uber elated about how your high school career has gone.
Define that word for me.
Uber? Like super.
Okay.
Awesome. Yes.
Sorry. I thought that's what I meant, but I didn't want to be wrong. Yes, it's been a great high school career for me. I've had some great seniors, some people to look up to, Grace Gilcrease, and Lauren Milligan, and Abby Ott. I definitely got lucky on my high school career.
So what's next for you?
Well, hopefully college.
Okay.
I'm still working on that.
Okay.
But I don't want to say yet.
You gotta let me know when you decide where you're gonna go.
Okay.
So last week we had Brooke Matthews up here. She's a young lady that you could you see yourself in her shoes. She's a girl from Rogers, just like you're from Springdale. State champion, just like you are. Could you see yourself pursuing like the career she's done?
I would.
College,
love to.
pro, that kind of thing. I mean,
yeah.
when you see a girl like that's done it and is living that kind of life, is that something you look at and go, that could be for me?
Oh, for sure. I'm not close friends with Brooke, but I do know her. I was at the same club as her, and I've talked to her a few times. But it's definitely amazing to see that happen right in front of you too. She's not that much older than me.
Right.
And definitely, yeah.
Did you go to the LPGA any at all over the weekend?
A little bit on Sunday, yes.
When you see those girls play, what is it about their game that's different than your game, and where can you improve your game to get to that level? Because I know there's kind of a finite difference between where they are and where you are. How do you get over that line?
It's a really interesting question. Definitely more experience, obviously. I don't really know. You know, they know what they're doing. Obviously, they have great teams behind them, and you know they can do all that. One of the things is a lot of people they take their time, which is kind of
they're not rushed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple things. Different people are different, and I don't really know how to answer that question.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Congratulations. What
Thank
a
you.
tremendous career you've had. Great way to end it. I know you're going to overalls. Is that next week, or is that when is overall?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. And I know that's probably on your to-do list as well. So
Yes.
Good luck going after that. Again, this is Charlie Wharton, the Prep Rally Player of the Week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. Houston Nutt, former Arkansas Razorback head football coach, also coached at Ole Miss and Murray State, among others, was our guest speaker today. He sat down with our Matt Jones of the Hawgs Sports Network for a Q&A at the luncheon.
Coach, being back in Fayetteville, this is your second time. I know that you've been back in the last month or so at least, because you were in the Hall of Honor inductions. What's it like now, coming back, now that you're retired, and just the feelings being back so often?
Yeah, it was a great feeling. When I left here, things were pretty tough. So coming back this time, been a long time since my whole family was here all together. A long, long time, really since 2007. And to come back and see over 90 players and Clorinda and, Norm DeBryan and Robert Cox, you just go, all these memories come back. And it's a great feeling. And this was my first tailgate. It was my first tailgate ever to go to different tents. And the first time I got to go in Lindy and John David's box and sit with Jim and their mom and watch a game from up there. All these things are just, it's unbelievable, and it's a great feeling.
What were your tailgating experiences? What foods does Houston Nutt like?
Well, a lot of people smoke and drink. I eat, and I eat a lot, and I got to watch it. So I like everything, but man, I mean, some of this pulled brisket and some of this smoked ribs and things that are happening around the tailgate, it's really good, really good. I could spend a lot of time there, no doubt.
You've spent the last 11 years with CBS, so you watch everyone's games. You watch Arkansas's games. Now that you're not having to watch games as closely for that job, how closely do you watch Arkansas? Are you watching their highlights, or are you sitting in there intently for 3 hours?
Well, it's worked out this year where I've watched every play, maybe the first game and the Texas A&M game. I watched every play, and you watch every game. And, it's a little different. Where CBS, I learned real quick. I'll give you a quick story. It was halftime of our game. I was on CBS Sports Network. We had Fresno State, another team, and this other team, I wasn't pronouncing the name right. And at halftime, the producer says, Houston, you're not pronouncing the name right of a state. And look at our blogs, look at our Instagram, look at our Twitter. You're blowing us up. I said, what is it? It's not Nevada. I was raised up. I thought it was supposed to be pronounced Nevada. No, it's Nevada. All right. What I really wanted to say, hey, look, if you make a first down, I'll learn how to pronounce your name. That's what I wanted to say. But I didn't say that. I was nice, But it's things like that. And the Tongan names, the Samoan names was rough, really rough. And so I had to help my researchers to help me out a little bit. My mother was an English teacher, but I still got some problems. And Tuatunga Valoa it doesn't sound the way it's spelled. Right. So would you spell it the way it sounds? So that really started helping me. Tuatunga Valoa. So you'd spell it like that. That really helped. I got to stop real quick. That's my offensive center right there that just walked in, Mike Burlingame. Mike, so good to see you, buddy. This guy could snap a football perfect every time. Coach Lou Holtz, I don't know if you remember, I know Clay knows this. Lou Holtz always played the second team, the third series. So Mike and I were always side by side going in on the third series. Hey, it could be 7-0 their way, whatever. Coach Holtz played 2 units, and we were the first one to go in. So we were side by side going in, and we were pumped up.
You love seeing your old players and your old teammates, and there are a lot of names you got to remember. I have to believe that for you, this is in retirement. You're other than seeing your kids and your grandkids, it's reaching out to old friends. No doubt about it. It was awesome when we had, but right before the Hall of Honor, we had a Thursday night deal of this Resurgence documentary, and all the players that came back: C.J. McClain, Kanoy Kennedy, Clint Sterner, and Russ Brown, and Joe Dean, and all these, Zach Painter, and I don't want to leave anybody out. I could name them all, but it's that bond it'll never be broken because you went through so much together. And the one thing that you can't buy is a celebrated locker room. After the investment and sacrifice of sweat and tears and all these things, there's nothing. And it's like you can't break the bond of our teammates. Mike Massey here today and Mike Burlingame. We're in Wilson Sharp together, Mike Birchfield, and we have all these stories. And it's the same thing with these players. And I'm just so thrilled to be around them. And the greatest thing is when you see them with their children. You see the job that Jeb does with the state of Arkansas, making a difference. And that's what thrills you. I saw a video you did for Fayetteville High School 2 years ago before they played in the state championship game. It was about a 7 or 8 minute, what would you call it, a pregame motivational speech? I didn't do too good, though. It's the closest a team's come to beating Bryant in the last 5 years, I can tell you that. We got to beat Bryant. You've got Casey Dick, Marcus Shavers is a head coach down in your area, down in McKinney. Anthony Lucas is at Pulaski Academy. What do you think? Zach Clark is at Searcy. What do you think when you see those guys coaching high school football the way they do? I love it. Just like seeing Chris here today coaching Greenwood, and you see them how they were raised, and they have great knowledge and wisdom, and to have that relationship. And I tell you, I just get a joy out of it. I get a joy out of, John David's son. I mean, you hear him. I can't go anywhere and somebody's talking about Drake Lindsay, and he looks so pretty in a uniform. Yeah, 6'5", and he can make every throw. And you have these conversations, and I coach John David, and so to hear him talk about his son, and then I get video and I'm watching Streamline in some of these games, is like, holy cow. I mean, this guy is at a different level. And so it just goes back to your question of players. To me, that's why you got in it. It's that relationship, and that's what you miss. What's the difference in the SEC now and when you coached? NIL and portal is the biggest difference. And I don't know. I've always voted, even all the way through my 10 years at Arkansas and 4 years at Ole Miss. We've always voted in the springtime. I wanted players to have money. I don't know if you realize, but when Coach Joe Fred Young was our house mom and dad, I remember asking Coach Young one day, what is this $6.25? It's laundry check. I said, is it for laundry? He says, well, it's a laundry check, but you can use it to buy a hamburger or whatever you want. Well, I was fired up that I had $6.25 for a laundry check. And so I want players to have money, so I thought that's why cost of attendance, $5,000 or $6,000 a year, an SEC opportunity fund. That means you could go, if you needed something, a coach could give them money for a winter coat or something. But now what you worry about it with NIL is it's the locker room.
because everybody's not going to get the same. And it's easy to say, I had this argument with Brian Jones of CBS, hey, that's the real world. Not everybody's going to get paid the same. Well, it's college, though. Evidently we're talking about NFL now, because that's what it is. It's free agency. And then the loyalty on top of it. When a coach jumps on one, it's real simple. I'm going to put my name in the portal now. And so I was talking to Rhett Lashley, talked to his team 2 years ago, and I couldn't believe Rhett said, I got 18 new players that hadn't been through spring practice. So he has to get them ready in August. I'm thinking, how in the world? Now, I did like what he did. Rhett gave all 85 $35,000 in August 1, or divided it up, monthly or however he did it, and plus 10 walk-ons. And if you do it NIL, you're on your own. Now, I kind of like that. Everybody, okay, you're going to get $35,000, $35,000, $35,000. But when one guy's making $1.2 million, or if one guy makes $1.8 million, and I'm hearing numbers like some of these guys across the country are making $3 million, $4 million, unbelievable. Now, I'm just thinking, if I was coaching Darren McFadden back in the day, and we were here, and we had NIL, Darren McFadden would have Lindsay sponsor. He would have Tyson. He would have J.B. Hunt, on and on. But you know what? Who'd be knocking on my door? The left guard. Hey, coach, I'm blocking for Darren. Can I get a deal? And then there'd be Peyton Hillis coming. Coach, I got a few things here working. Can I get a few more, maybe signing some autographs for Hawgs Illustrated? Can I go do that on the open date? You got all these scenarios, and I want to make sure that you're getting some extra reps catching the ball, tucking the ball away, because it comes down to blocking and tackling. And I want to make sure you're playing at a high level of blocking and tackling and not worrying about your deal. So you asked me what's different. That is different. That's different.
I was reading Matt Luke, who was at Ole Miss after you. I think he's 45, 46, and he's retired from coaching. He said it's because the day-to-day grind of roster turnover every offseason, he didn't want to do it anymore. And the coaches have gotten to a point where financially they're secure enough that they can make that decision to quit. I mean, I wonder, have you heard from people that you worked with who are maybe in a similar boat?
I hear from a lot of coaches, and they all say the same thing. They hate the NIL, but publicly, they got to say they love it. They got to say, oh, I love it. They got to embrace it, but they hate it. And so it's just a very, very difficult deal.
You mentioned, what Sam Pittman is going through right now in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. What do you tell your team when you're in a hard time like he's in right now?
Jeb can tell you. What we try to do is really, we wanted to get so close to our team because the noise. When Mike Burlingame and Mike and Mike Birchfield, when we were in the Wilson Sharp, we were all under one roof. So we ate together. To do bed check, you had freshmen in the dorm. You had to go this condo, this apartment, and so it's already disjointed. And so to me, it's so important this week. Boy, you got to get really excited. Shut that door, that team meeting room. Said, hey, nobody loves you but your mother and me right now. And we're going to have a real plan. We're going to Oxford here, and we're fixing to wear them out. I know they got the best offense in this, and have a plan. And sometimes you got to simplify. Sometimes you got to say, okay, we're maybe not going to have as many run plays. And maybe we're going to have 2 or 3. But guess what? We're going to be able to block versus any front. And we're going to protect versus any front. We're going to have fewer protections, fewer this, and we're going to fix to, wear them out. And it really takes some. There's 8 or 9 seniors and maybe 2 or 3 juniors that you could always rely on. You needed their leadership. You need that locker room. And that locker room, I've always felt good, especially when our seniors were playing their best ball, is when they handled it. One day, I stopped the Gatorade very early, I think it was 1999, and I never will forget Anthony Lucas saying, Coach, no Gatorade? Well, when we walked to practice, we had to walk through our stadium, and I asked them to stop throwing the Gatorade bottles down on the ground. They just throw it down. And there's a trash can pretty close. They wouldn't do it, throw it down. So I stopped it. I said, Anthony, I'm not going to give another Gatorade. Y'all go get from the faucet, get water out of the hose, no Gatorade, because you won't listen. Teammates not listening. It didn't take 24 hours. 24 hours. Anthony Lucas and that group was in a room. Y'all better throw away the Gatorade bottles, fellas. And it went about a day, Coach. We kept it pretty clean. I said, yep, kept pretty clean. That's for a day. We'll see, It's just like you play hard sometimes on first down. I got to have first, second, third. I'll see. Today's first down. Let's see what you do on second down. And then you come back, coach, 2 days in a row. Yep, that's second down. We'll see. Third down, 3 days. So 3 or 4 days, after 3 or 4 days are good, Gatorade came back. Well, my point is, it's the little things. And the little things is, hey, look, on offense, we know the snap count. That's our advantage. We're going to get off first. And defense, that ball moves, we move. And we got to arrive in a bad mood. And it's just, we just start building on that attitude of a Razorback and that passion, and you have this road focus. And it's sometimes it's different, when you're on the road. But I always like going on the road, especially after a loss, because I had them. I knew I had them. They wasn't going back to their apartment. They're not going back to their condo. I had them. I had them on the bus. I had them in the hotel, meeting room, get ready.
Put your analyst hat back on. You know how bad of a job Arkansas was when Pittman took it, or at least how poorly they had done for 3 years. Your overall assessment of 3.5 seasons into his tenure?
Outside looking in, I hadn't been to one practice. I hadn't met Coach Pittman. But, I like the way he embraced Arkansas. I like the way he embraced the players. And the bottom line is Coach Broyles used to tell me all the time. All the time. I remember, I go to bed in my mind. Houston, I love that your players graduate. I love that your players are involved in the community, but I pay you to win. And it was point blank. It was a real message because I thought I was going to get a goody two-chew, a little meeting with him, and it was like, I love all the things you're doing. You got to win. And so it's the bottom line. It's a tough deal. We get, your salary's on front page. And that's what we always tell our coaches. You're getting paid a very nice salary. But along comes with that is you got to produce. You got to be the best recruiter, the best teacher, and you got to get it done. And so, hey, he did a good job. There's nothing like when you beat Texas and Texas A&M. I saw that. It's the greatest feeling in the world. When you beat those teams back to back, you get momentum. You win a bowl game. It helps now your players are ambassadors. And so you're just looking for that feeling. There's only one dose of medicine. It's the only way you spell fun, it's W-I-N.
So you went to Ole Miss. You said it's fun to beat Hotty Toddy. How closely do you keep up with Ole Miss?
Not much. Not much. The first 2 years there were a lot like our 98 and 99. They'd never been to a bowl. Michael Orr, blindside, Dexter McCluster, Parade Jerry, those guys had a lot of failures. And 3-9. But Ed Orgeron recruited well, except those last 2 years. And here's the difference in athletic directors. Coach Broyles would come to me every day after the first year, what do you need? And I said, we really need a team meeting. He called Jim Lindsay. Our team meeting was built in 30 days. And then what else? Need a weight room. And he got it done. And then he'd say, well, what else? I said, that's about it. Good food. We're good. I want a stadium. Well, that 55,000 seat stadium I love because everybody was holding up fingers, 3 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger, And so I wanted that smaller stadium. He said, no, I believe we can fill 100,000. I said, no, coach, not 100,000. Don't do that. So anyway, I got him talked down to 72,000. But getting back to Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a tough job too. It's very, very difficult. They don't grow up in the state of Mississippi wanting to be an Ole Miss Rebel. They don't. And then the great ones, you got Saban in that state. You got Les Miles in that state, or whoever is the LSU coach. They're coming to get your best player. They're going to cherry pick. So it was difficult. And there were 16 junior colleges in the state of Mississippi. And so it was a tough job. But I enjoyed the first 2 years. It was awesome. The last 2 years, not so much. And then when you get fired for the first time in your life, it's a terrible feeling.
Assistant coaching, too, not just head coaching. Best player you've ever coached. And I think this would be a tough question because – or maybe not.
Oh, no, it's tough. It's really tough.
Because you coached Barry Sanders.
Well, I didn't get to actually coach him, but I was on I coached Hartley Dykes, but I got to watch him every day.
Okay.
He's phenomenal, probably the best. Thurman Thomas, too. It's hard not to say Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden, 6'1", greatest stiff arm I've ever seen, and he could hit home runs. And what I mean by that is very few backs in the SEC can go 80 yards. He can go 80. Felix Jones was phenomenal. We got a guy right now that's still playing today Jason Peters. Jason Peters from Texas, Queen City, Texas. He's still playing today. About his 20th year, I think, at left tackle. I think he's at Seattle now. He's with Dallas last year. So there's so many really good players. You know, you go back to Brandon Burlsworth, Anthony Lucas. Matt Jones was phenomenal. At 6'6", 237. I can't tell you how many defensive coordinators or head coaches come to me after the game. I didn't realize Matt Jones was that fast because the film would deceive you with his long gallop stride. It would deceive you, but he was playmaker.
What stadium did you hate coaching in?
Well, I always like the SEC stadiums because of the noise level and it's full. The one that was is always the toughest was LSU, but I love going to LSU. I love going to LSU, especially when they're quiet. And our section of Razorback fans are calling them Hawgs. There's nothing like it. That was the last game I got to coach in. But Neyland Stadium, I had probably the worst luck in because we were right there several times. I could never win in Neyland. Neyland Stadium got me. I thought we had a field goal blocked at one time in the sixth overtime, or the fourth overtime out of the sixth. I thought we had that one. Jason Witten hit they threw it down the middle on us. And then Vanderbilt was always the toughest stadium because
you have to make your own energy in there.
Yes.
It's like a neutral site game, but not a lot of people show up. Hey, growing up around the school for the deaf, that's a really unique story. Just tell us a little bit about your childhood being around that.
Well, it's the greatest ever because I don't know if you realize there's only one deaf school in each state. And so my playground, I was 3 blocks from the Arkansas School for the Deaf. So my playground was the deaf school, and you couldn't say, hey, Johnny, throw me the ball, because you were deaf. And the other thing it taught me is this. Didn't matter your skin tone, didn't matter where you're from. They had to leave at the age of 4 and 5 to come to the Arkansas School for the Deaf. So as long as you could sign, you were in the family. There was the connection. That was the brotherhood. Ooh, I can sign. I know how to say, Daddy, Mama, let's play ball. I'm communicating with deaf, and it's like a different language. But that deaf person looked at me as a hearing person, and he was checking us out now real quick. The deaf people can size you up so quick. They can look right through you to see what you're about. And once we learned how to sign, to take that time, they said, oh, he's okay. He wants to be a part of us. And so it taught me about, doesn't matter if you're Native American, African American, Mexican, whatever, as long as you could sign and you were communicating and you felt this togetherness, it was unbelievable. So that was some great times. And then Benny Fuller. Benny Fuller was a player that my dad coached. He hit 102 points in one game. And the greatest lesson, and I think this is a great lesson, I was 9 years old at Leola, Arkansas. Do you know where that is? Yeah, most people don't. Leola, Arkansas. I'm on the bench at age 9, and I'll never forget, my dad was pretty animated one night, and he could get upset. And he calls timeout in the first quarter, and he meets the players before they get to the bench. He meets them on the court, and he goes right up to the first player and takes 2 fingers across his forehead, and he says, no sweat. Goes to the second one, does that again. No sweat. Went to the third, went to the 4th player, and finally the 5th one, Benny Fuller. He's the only one. He's wet a sweat. How could you not sweat for him? 9 years of age, it's never left me. We're going to sweat for one another. When you go to Oxford, Mississippi this week, we're going to sweat for one another. Get ready. And so that was the mindset. My dad was really, really good. He was perfect for the deaf people. He was perfect. He had 2 sisters that were deaf, 3 brothers that were totally deaf. Larry Lacewell, there's something in the water in Fordyce because Bear Bryant's from there, Larry Lacewell. Larry Lacewell said Clyde Nutt, my uncle, would have been in the NBA, but he was deaf.
Your brothers, you all went into coaching. You're all great athletes. What's it like growing up in the Nutt house?
Nothing like it. Nothing like having 4 brothers, 2 on 2. But the basketball coaches lasted longer than the football coaches. I'm kind of upset about that. Dickie is a basketball coach at the University of Missouri, and Dennis is the head basketball coach going on his 12th year at Ouachita Baptist. Cliff Harris's old school down there, Ouachita Baptist. Danny is in Sarasota. When we got let go at Ole Miss, one of his classmates from University of Arkansas was selling real estate in Sarasota. He said, I got a place for you. Come to Sarasota. And Mom got real mad at him. He got the furthest away and had the triplets. They went to community college, and lo and behold, he is a valet. He runs a valet. And I'll never will forget, he called me one day, he says, you know Marco Rubio? I said, no. I've heard of him. He said, well, they had some conventions down there. I do golf, I do country clubs, and Marco Rubio want to know who is parking the cars. And they said, this old ball coach from Arkansas. And he has 5 high school and about 7 college kids, and they sprint to the cars. He makes them sprint. And Marco Rubio says, we never have to wait for a car if Coach Nutt is getting our cars. So he loves doing that, and he just did the St. Jude. So now the golf tournaments are recruiting him, and he's parking cars, and he loves it.
Last question for you. You mentioned it was tough when you left here. Seems like your time here, as time has gone by, maybe it's remembered a little bit more fondly. How does that make you feel?
Awesome. When we're going to New York, Dinah would go with me once a month. And she said like 3 years ago, Dallas-Fort Worth has a lot of Arkansas alums, and she noticed a lot of Razorbacks were coming up for pictures. He says, seems like they might like you a little bit more now. I said, I don't know. We are taking more pictures though. Yeah. But no, it's a great feeling. It's almost like a healing of a wound a little bit, when you've gone through as a player and as assistant and a head coach. And we got to go to Atlanta twice, won 3 Western titles, and be around the greatest young men. I mean, some great young men that are awesome. And you still have those relationships, like we got to see in the Arkansas Hall of Honor, all those guys coming back. That to me is what it's all about.
Houston, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Give him a hand. Yeah, thank you. All right.
So that wraps up today's Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club luncheon. It was a great program. Again, Houston Nutt was a guest speaker. We honored Charlie Horton as our Player of the Week and the Greenwood Bulldogs as our Program of the Week. We'll be back next week when we have former Arkansas receiver Richard Smith. He will be our guest speaker. We also want to let everybody know who's listening that we have lined up Nolan Richardson, the national championship coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He will be the featured speaker for the October 25th luncheon. You won't want to miss that. You can get tickets here at the door, or you can get them online. Just check out our website there, and you can get tickets for those. Again, Nolan Richardson, the former Arkansas Razorback national championship winning basketball coach, will be our guest speaker on October 25th. Thanks for listening to this podcast. We'll catch you next time.
The proceeding has been a production of the Hawgs Sports Network. Look for our daily podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. For more Razorbacks coverage, go to WholeHogsports.com or follow the Hawgs Sports Network reporters on social media.